Hey there, guys, and welcome back to another episode of the Alternate Friday Facts. I'm Exterminator, and thank you for joining us today. This is number 10, Protecting Your Empire, and I'm joined as always by Bombug.
Hello, hello. How you doing on this fine, chilly morning, X?
Doing pretty good. Trying to prepare for the even chillier mornings to come next couple days.
Winter is here,
It
almost.
is. Whew, it's gonna be real
Luckily,
cold here.
yeah. Luckily, we've got nice computers, gaming rigs that keep our gaming rooms very toasty. As long as you're playing the right games, that'll it's like a little space heater for you, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's always nice. Um, So yeah, I think this one is. I mean, this one is pretty interesting. Some good stuff here. So we'll start off with this first section by Recon 419A about border walls. So this is kind of an interesting subject. We can see some screenshots here. Instantly know that they're using alien biomes. Uh, I kind of do wish Factorio had a little more diversity in its biomes, but
Yep. It's just a single planet. We don't get any of that cool special terrain generation like I don't know, No Man's Sky or something has.
yeah, yeah,
Dude, that would
exactly.
be pretty cool though, man.
That would be
Get a
pretty awesome.
combo team there going. No Man's Sky, Hello Games with Wooby doing
Oh
some
yeah,
Factorio work. Mm.
brilliant. So Recon goes into how one of the biggest challenges in Factorio, in his opinion, is dealing with the constant stream of biters that come to attack your base. From the earliest gun turrets you build to the late game artillery outposts you set up, dealing with biters is one of your two main consumers of resources, the other being science. Uh, the resources, your main three, and eventually energy and other materials you spend dealing with biters are part of what helps to balance out your base. Without them, I found you tend to back up on certain materials more than others, especially when playing mods like Angel's Bobs. Unfortunately, for many players, dealing with biters can become a constant headache or even a drain on their enjoyment, and I've known many a player who turns them off. A few saves ago, I found a method of dealing with them that minimizes annoyances while still allowing for the enjoyment of watching countless waves break over your defenses, a turret based so the solution is a turret-based border wall. Uh, so we kind of have a screenshot here. Um, and basically everyone's familiar with the concept of building a wall around your factory and fortifying them with turrets. People will argue over whether lasers, gun turrets, or flamethrowers are best. And if you're playing mods like Bob's, you might have access to other options such as plasma turrets too. What people often fail to realize though is that the shape of the wall makes a huge difference, which is kind of a pretty nuanced thing. Um, so, in my youth, when I first discovered Factorio, I tended to build walls around places that got attacked, and usually around my entire factory as well. I would build them right at the perimeter. After all, defending farther out than was necessary would be a waste of resources and would force me to clear countless nests of biters. However, then I discovered something that changed all that: the magic of the choke point. By using natural cliffs, bodies of water, and the fact that pollution only spreads so far, it's possible to create a border wall much further out than I originally realized, and it's not only possible, it's actually advantageous. So, choke points are really important if you play any sort of RTS or tower defense games. You should be well aware of how these work and the benefits of a choke point. Um, so kind of an example here, seeing this walled off on this choke point, and you'll notice um, that they actually build diagonal walls rather than doing just like solid lines, like coming out to the right and then going up and creating kind of like half of a square, which could cause some issues. They build diagonally, so the shape does matter quite a bit. Um, what like how do you do this when you build your border? Like when you build walls and stuff, do you like kind of take advantage of choke points?
Yeah, I definitely found myself after a time doing exactly what this guy does here.
Mm-hmm.
Originally, I did just build right close to my base and have all my turrets and just along the entire wall. Uh, Recently, as I expand, I just like I go out as far as I can, just drop in a blueprint of um, power poles and laser turrets behind me the whole way. So I have just like a long line of power poles and laser turrets until I find a good choke point,
Hmm.
and then I build a wall straight across with more laser turrets in my case because I don't really like using normal ammo unless it's uranium, right? And
Right.
then it's a little hard to supply without blueprints in a big bot network. It's a little hard to supply the turrets with those if they're far away.
Yeah, big time.
Yeah, so I just use a blueprint of laser turrets, go all the way out, find the choke points like this, and I try to have an area cleared far beyond my pollution and with multiple resource patches so I can just focus on clearing a huge zone, claiming my territory, and then for like the next 15, 20 hours of gameplay or whatever, I can focus on just focusing my factory building, right?
Yeah.
It's a lot more fun for me that way because I get to go really intense on the destroying everything and then get to focus on building for a long time.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's a great way to do it. I need to kind of follow those practices a lot better myself.
Yeah, I noticed you don't build walls and you just kind of drop a couple turrets in one spot whenever you're building.
Um, yeah, that's because I'm lazy, and then I forget that that's actually just not sufficient, and then I regret it. So, uh, yeah. But so kind of going more into this, building a border wall further out than the edge of your factory has numerous advantages. First and foremost, it allows you to choose where you want to deal with those pesky bugs, which is very true. Unlike me, where they just come to my outpost and kill everything. If you clear out to a choke point and then hold that choke, you don't have to worry about attacks from that direction. And if you do this in all directions, you don't have to worry about attacks at all. Pushing out past your pollution boundary means that bugs won't even attack these defenses. The only thing turrets are there for is to stop expansion of bugs into already cleared territory. By using natural barriers such as cliffs and water to aid your defenses, you can cut off swaths of the map using a few resources. Using very few resources. I would estimate somewhere between 40 and 80% of my border wall tends to be naturally formed impassable obstacles, with trees and tiles absorbing my pollution instead of biter spawners. I don't even get attacked very frequently, and this is crucial because it allows me to throw down a couple of 100 rounds of piercing ammo at a choke point and leave it alone for several hours, which is pretty good. The second main advantage of building a border wall this far out is that it doesn't inhibit your factory. So basically, when you need to expand, it's not going to just be in the way, instead of building like too close to your factory and then having to pick it up and move it again. They just kind of give some general examples of that with oil and outposts. And then the science of border walls has changed my life. I used to defend outposts with rows upon rows of laser turrets, struggling to keep them repaired and supplied as bugs did incremental damage. This is me. So now I simply push out to natural chokes and keep them manually supplied with ammo using only a couple of a dozen rounds per hour. Such natural choke points survive far longer out past my pollution boundary than they ever could within it. In a late game, when I finally have access to artillery, I even put artillery turrets along my border walls, and this allows me to expand without ever having to clear biter or bugs manually. The slowly creeping wall reduces the amount of damage that I have to deal with down to almost zero, and at the same time, I keep bugs toggled on, allowing me to watch as they ever so occasionally break against my carefully prepared defenses. So, yeah, kind of a nice balance of being able to defend well and also getting the satisfaction of watching your turrets and stuff just mow down the waves of biters.
Yeah, and honestly, his strategy of pushing out beyond his pollution is really what makes this work so well.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you have bases in pollution, they're going to be constantly attacking you, and your couple dozen rounds that you have in the guns are going to run out like within a couple minutes sometimes. So you gotta push way beyond your pollution, and then you'll use less ammo, you'll use less resources. It's just like a really smart way to play.
Yes, definitely. Absolutely. Um, so yeah, maybe that can be a lesson for some people, including myself. Like I know this principle, I just don't apply it, which I should. And yeah, it's really great. I did this, I used to do this, and then I guess I just got lazy. Maybe you don't know about this, but this is a really good strategy. So it's cool that they covered this, um, especially important on things like death worlds and such.
Oh,
So yeah, that's really good. Now, moving down into a very interesting topic is the small annoyances of Factorio by Troopin, who is a fellow YouTuber, does some cool content. Um, now, you said this section interested you quite a bit. Did you want to cover this?
Sure. I love the little annoyances because people get on their rants, and I love hearing people rant about, things that they're passionate about,
Yeah.
like being annoyed in a game that they played for 10,000 hours.
Yes,
So,
exactly.
yeah, Drupin starts with the most annoying thing about a particular video game heavily depends on the person playing it. For example, I personally feel some cliffs are a devilish idea, while Exterminator, hey, screams at
Hey.
cranes. And someone else complains about misplaced landfill being the absolute worst. So, to answer this question in some kind of scientific way, Troopin polled the Reddit community asking what is the most annoying thing in Factorio. The responses were divided. So we've got 25% saying power pole spaghetti connecting, 24% saying cliffs, 17.9% saying mixed belts by mistake, 14.2% saying the entire fluid system,
Mm-hmm.
10.6 saying trees and removing them, and 8.4% saying bots overall recharging speed, movement speed, buildings limits. Yeah. Mm.
Hmm.
Did you expect this kind of outcome?
Honestly, no. Like, there is when I read this, I kind of had to like go because this is not really what I would have it's not that I wouldn't have expected these things. I just wouldn't have expected them in this ratio of like majorities, you know. So like power pole spaghetti connecting, I definitely would not have thought that would be the highest voted one. Um,
Right.
I would
Yeah,
have,
that was a surprise to me for sure.
yeah, and like cliffs, I can see. I know a lot of people really dislike cliffs. Um, but I'm personally really surprised that the that the fluid system is actually that like low on the on the annoyance list. Like that is by far my biggest annoyance. Like that would be. I really thought that the fluid system would be number one, maybe number two, not like fourth. Um,
I
trees,
was
kind of. Yeah.
definitely. Oh, go ahead.
No. I'm basically done. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was definitely thinking cliffs would be a larger margin actually.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking bugs, biters in general, I would expect to be on here. Though
Yeah.
maybe it's not because you can disable it, but I mean you can disable cliffs too. So I was
Yeah.
kind of confused that biters just in general weren't on there. And then I was definitely expecting bots to be a much larger group there, just because
Really.
yeah, just how do I say it? There's a lot of frustration for me originally trying to figure out how bots worked. And
Mm.
then once I expanded and was doing a huge bot base, it's like I thought I was doing it right, but I was doing it wrong. And so whenever I'm requesting items, it's coming from, 3,000 kilometers away on the back of just a couple of logistic robots when I've got a huge amount of logistics robots right next to me with a box full of whatever supply I'm requesting.
Right.
So I was thinking like that for me, but what the post is saying is, it heavily depends on the person playing it. So it does make sense that we, are surprised by this.
Yeah, I guess so. I mean, it's very interesting to me. Yeah, like you said, I'm very surprised biters just aren't on there, and I'm also uh, surprised that yeah, cliffs aren't higher, and I'm very surprised that power pools are that high up. Like I would have expected cliffs to be like at least like 30-40%, and like power pools to just be like I don't know 10% if that. Like I
And I
don't know.
mean,
It
it's all
just
working. It's just not pretty, right?
yeah, exactly. So it's very interesting, and they in yeah, looks like he goes into it more down here.
Yeah. So thanks to everyone who took part in the survey and expressed their opinion. The results show that the most annoying thing for players is power pole spaghetti connecting. This isn't too surprising for Drupin, because many Factorio players focus on keeping their factory in pristine shape by using correct ratios, proper train names, or a main bus design. The main issue with power poles is that the cable connections don't get saved in blueprints. So no matter how pretty they look when you create it, this one little detail will not be retained. This gets more noticeable when you're at the Megabase stage and most of your layouts are being stamped down using blueprints. It seems we're in luck, though, as Coverex has hinted that this pain point will be a distant memory once 1.1 hits. So that's a little post on the Factorio subreddit by Coverex saying, just wait for 1.1 on a post asking why their blueprint connections are all uglified.
Yeah, so looking like they'll maybe get that fixed up in 1.1, which would be fantastic.
Yeah, 1.1's kind of sound a little hype, just quality of life and bug wise.
Oh, yeah.
Let's see. So Trupin also took a look at the most upvoted comments because while they might have fewer votes than the poll results, they also unearthed some truth nonetheless. You, Connor underscore 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 underscore, in particular, hits upon something that most of us will be familiar with. Most painful thing by far, the lack of sleep after staying up all night playing Factorio. Definitely hits if you've got a job early in the morning.
Oh, yeah. Or school or
Yep.
anything, really.
Another comment that jumped out was Mr. Stevie bringing up the pain of switching your power armor incorrectly. For those that don't know, power armor gives you an additional 10 to 30 inventory slots, and removing it when you have a full inventory causes the surplus to spill on the ground all around you, requiring you to clean it up manually while enduring the shame of what you just did. Mr. Shivi says, switching power incorrectly, and then bam, all of your inventory and equipment gets spewed out everywhere. I do dislike that.
Yes, me too. I do that actually fairly consistently, and it's extremely frustrating.
Now, didn't they make it so it doesn't spill onto belts anymore in like
Yes.
version 16 or 17 or something?
Which, yeah, they did change that, which is really helpful. It's still a pain because you still have to, like, pick everything up. Um,
Yup.
I feel like that just shouldn't. I don't know, like, again, I'm not a programmer, I don't know the limitations, but I feel like they just shouldn't allow it. Like, it literally, the game should not let you, like, put on an armor with like a that would make your inventory smaller than what it can hold, or at the very least give you like stop you from doing it once and give you a warning.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of just like like they said, just bam, no warning, no nothing. You just dump half your inventory on the ground.
You just trip and the spaghetti just falls out of your pockets everywhere. Everybody's
Yes,
laughing at you.
exactly.
Oh my gosh, it's so embarrassing.
Yeah, it's a bit of a oopsie.
Yeah, I am very glad that they made it not spill onto belts anymore though, because I did have that happen several times, and oh boy,
Hmm.
not a fun time.
That's
Being in a
real rough.
spaghetti base and then spilling the spaghetti. Oh,
Very, very rough.
now this
All
next
right.
section though, this reminds me of a group that you're in, right? Aren't you in like Team Steel Axe?
Yeah. So yeah. Um. Did you want to cover this? Or you want me to?
How about you cover it? Because this was a little bit before my time, really.
Okay. So basically painful things that got removed. So every developer tries to make their game the best on the market. Movie puts in a lot of effort to make Factorio very intuitive and fun to play without having the advanced mechanics suffer. I think most people would agree, or many people would agree, that it is an easy to play, hard to master type of game because you can start playing without any knowledge and still know what you're doing and what you need to do next. Um, it wasn't always like that though. After we took a look at what people find bothersome in today's Factorio, I thought it would be fun to look back at some older mechanics that didn't really work out. For one, there was the alien artifact mechanic that was discussed in the ALT-F4 number 6, which distracted you from factory building quite a bit. Another annoying thing were pickaxes. So, much like in Minecraft, in Minecraft you need an iron pickaxe to mine diamonds, but you need wood and stone versions to get to iron in the first place. Factorio was inspired by this idea and also had 4 types of pickaxes. Um, used to mine higher tiers of resources. The wood and stone variants were removed very early on, as this type of resource gathering in the early game was just a distraction from the core gameplay. However, iron and steel axes remained in the game for a long time. The iron axe was a short lived part of your progression path, crafted only once or twice to provide you with your first iron. Uh, what's more is that new players have problems finding, crafting, or using this tool, creating some frustration in the first few minutes you spend in the game. The steel axe, on the other hand, was with us throughout the whole game, crafted in bulk from time to time. Both of them got removed in the end because they didn't add much to the game and mostly confused and annoyed players. Um, so yeah, I remember the days where you would like make an iron axe and then you would finally upgrade and make a steel axe, and then you would literally just have to craft like huge batches of these things because they were physical items and they had durability. So like every time you picked up a building, mined resources, cleared trees, it took away on the durability, and if you ran out, then you would just like your mining and pickup speed would be like massively reduced.
Whoa, wait. So you would pick up inserters by smacking them with your pickaxe?
um, I think I'm
Oh
pretty
my
sure
god.
we're down on the durability when you picked up items. Maybe it was just mining. Um, I don't know. It was very annoying. So I'm glad they took it out and just made it like just a research where you can just upgrade your mining speed and there's actual no item or anything like that. Um, so there are many more things like this that got removed over time. Many early access games get a lot of new buildings, mechanics, or enemies over time, but Factorio chose a different path. Instead of adding more, they improved what was already there. If you want to read Ruby's thoughts on this kind of cleanup, uh, take a look at Friday Facts 226, or 266, sorry, which is quite a long time ago, which goes into detail about decisions regarding pickaxes, furnace efficiency, and more. Also, be on the lookout for next week's issue of ALT-F4, in which String Weasel will dive into some more of these for the novice archives. Lastly, in this section, we have no pain, no gain. Factorio has come a long way during the more than 8 years of development to be where it is today. Mistakes were made, but the developers didn't pretend that everything was perfect right away and worked very hard to make Factorio a wonderful game for casual players and veterans alike, which is very true.
Clap, clap for that. They've been doing a lot of good work, not only adding huge amounts of new features, but keeping the game so incredibly bug free that you need bosses like Boss Kid to be able to find bugs?
Yes, exactly. You need like a dedicated like bug finder just to find any. Um, yeah, they do a fantastic job, and I mean, like you said, it seems like 1.1, despite not actually adding necessarily many like, well, they said they're not going to add new features, but I would consider a lot of the stuff they're adding to be new features. Just like it sounds like so much good quality of life stuff and polish. The 1.1 is just like really gonna just clean up pretty much everything. I think that maybe still is left there that's not quite perfect.
Yeah, and honestly, a lot of players aren't looking to Ruby for content necessarily anyway. The base game already has so much in it. A lot of players love it, and if players want more, they go to the modding community, which Ruby supports just incredibly well. And so that's where the extra content comes from. So the players aren't necessarily looking for Ruby to just make a whole bunch of new, I don't know, storyline modes or new tiers of content. They just want a really nice, good game with mod support, right?
Exactly. Um, Although I definitely wouldn't say no to a DLC.
What you thinking? You want that No Man's Sky style DLC? A little bit of a planetary generation,
Yeah, something like that would be
more
cool.
wildlife.
Yeah, some sort of extended in goal or technologies or something. I think there's definitely some potential for a DLC, and if if I were to support and buy a DLC for a game, it would be Factorio. Um,
Yeah.
they can just take my money. So pretty good. Interesting to look at the annoyances. Every single game has them. Factorio, I think, actually has a very low amount compared to most games. Um, and yeah, so this last section is an update from Stringweevil on Novice Archives on the backstory. In number 9, we investigated the origins of the game of our planet Novice. A correction about the claim that the name is never actually shown in the game came soon after publication from Iron Cartographer. Um, he pointed out that the name does indeed show up in a specific instance when using either the editor or playing certain scenarios, instances where it's possible to have multiple surfaces, alerts, for example. Those which make you aware of your buildings being damaged will display the surface name in the alert. So that's very interesting that it actually kind of shows up there.
curious. I guess most people don't really play the scenarios, right? Or use
Mm-hmm.
the editor too much. So this is kind of the sneaky lore hidden in there.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. And there's actually a really cool bit down here. So they say more, but more excitingly, after this discussion in the Factorio Discord, Wooby community manager Clonin dug up some never seen before backstory from us, which is quite interesting. He says, "This is all you get. The Kova system is named for the orange dwarf star at its center. Four known planets orbit the star, as well as numerous moons, unlisted dwarf planets, and asteroids. Closest to the star is Novice. This is the planet upon which the game takes place, a temperate world capable of sustaining life." And maybe this. The player named Alden Winters.
Oh, this is the first I've ever heard of this. Have you heard of this before?
I've not. This is truly,
Oh
this is the first I've heard of this.
man, what was his name before? Engineer guy. What do we call him?
uh, yeah, what did we call him? I don't know. Um, but yeah, like this is I honestly didn't even know that the devs had like come up with any sort of backstory or anything. I thought that they literally were just like, okay, here's a name for this planet, that's it, and like no story, nothing really. This is really interesting to see. I don't know if this was like made up on the spot, um, or like this is something they'd been like just kept the secret for themselves for like for a long time. I don't know. This is really interesting.
You know, the way he says this is all you get makes me think that there's more.
Yeah, it really does. And Stringwheels kind of goes on to say, he says, it seems like there were plans for an official Factorio story long ago. In typical movie fashion, it seems to be very detailed. However, this idea was scrapped and never implemented, which Clonin was glad about in hindsight. Let me see what this opens. Oh, it's going to Discord. So, however, if you're thirsty for some of that juicy Factorio lore, there are several players who have created their own um, backstory about how exactly the engineer got stranded on Novice. So we have a link backstory here 4 years ago um, from Tom Frost, writing a free live Factorio fanfic, which sounds pretty interesting. And
Tom Frost talking about Alden Winters. There's
mmm,
something here.
something here. Um, Also, I don't. Is this the same one? A fellow player who I used to play with and make content with, Scarhoof, wrote had quite a bit of fanfic. I don't know. I don't think this is his because I'm pretty sure his Reddit name was Scarhoof. I'd have to find that too because it was really well done. I'm not actually sure I've even read this one that's linked. I have to read that. I always love this fanfic. Because I do feel Factorio does lack a bit of story, so seeing, what fans come up with for it is pretty interesting.
Yep, there's got to be something going on that causes our engineer to come to this star system and crash, and then rather than just wanting to escape right away, annihilating the entire native population and polluting the planet while stripping it of all of its core resources. Like, there's got to be a reason he's doing all this.
Uh, yeah, I mean, based on, you know, it's happening, based on what we experience in real life, and maybe it's just because he's human, that seems to just kind of be our thing,
A
unfortunately.
little bit, a little bit.
Um, Seems very much, I've said this before, the Factorio thing seems very much uh, like uh, Independence Day. Like, the engineer just like it says he crash landed, but he basically is like what the aliens in Independence Day are, where he just goes to the planet to exterminate all the native population and exploit the planet for its resources until there's none left, and then move on.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Are we
interesting.
the bad guys?
Yeah, are we the bad guys?
No.
It's always a question we have to ask ourselves a little bit.
I never see the biters, scuffing amongst themselves. They're a very peaceful population.
Yeah, of course. Um, but yeah, that was this Friday. I mean, do you have anything else to add for this Friday Facts before we close it out here?
Let's see. I guess thinking back to the border wall stuff, one extra strategy I implement usually is trying to get the biters to focus on one section of the wall that I have better defended.
Hmm.
I'll usually drop down like a couple of radars in one spot right next to a bunch of turrets, and I may not understand the mechanics totally right, but as I understand it, biters are drawn to military structures, and so if you have like a good cluster of them, especially like radars, then the biters will go for that and ignore other spots of your wall a lot of the time.
Interesting.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
I could be a little bit wrong about that, but I definitely found out when I have a line of turrets and then in one or two spots, the radars they go for the spots with the radars. So I use those to draw the biters to specific better defended spots.
That's actually a pretty good strategy. Yeah, because like the radars definitely attract the biters, so kind of just using it as biter bait is to go to a more defended area is pretty good idea.
Yeah, guys, give it a shot if you're struggling with biters. Take a look at what was talked about in the border wall section and see if you have a little bit of a better gameplay experience.
For sure. Very good advice there. Um, so yeah, I think that's gonna do it for this one, guys. Pretty good stuff. Really interesting strategies. Cool, interesting to see the annoyances and how the games change, and then some really neat backstory here from Clonin. So I don't know, maybe we'll get to see more of that in the future. But yeah, I think that's gonna do it. As always, thank you so much for watching. Would love to hear your thoughts below and contributing as always on their Discord and discuss on Reddit and the Discord. It is great. And until next time, we will see you later.
Catch you later.